We need to send that can back to Budweiser and have them etch that in as well, because that's a nice feather in the cap, dude. Not only did he not score, also saved a shootout attempt.
We are joined today by a Keswick, Ontario native, an undrafted superstar who played for the Blues, the Oilers, the Leafs, the Wings, the Coyotes, and the Flames, a Spengler Cup gold medalist, an Olympic gold medalist, a King Clancy Memorial Trophy winner, an NHL All-Star, the second most wins of an undrafted goalie ever, and the first goalie ever to have 30 or more regular season wins in a single season with 5 separate teams. Curtis Cujo Joseph, welcome to the Empty Netters podcast.
What a hit list.
That sounds like a lot of teams. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, don't worry. We've had plenty of guests who have a much longer suitcase list, so don't sweat it at all.
Right.
Heard you were golfing yesterday. How'd the round go?
Oh, it was beautiful. I got a nice invitation to Silverleaf, which is one of the top courses that I've ever played, but definitely one of the top courses in Scottsdale. It's if you ever get an invite, it's a special place.
There you go. Yeah, we might have to shake Eddie Laxtree and have him get us on there somehow.
Oh, he'll tell you. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I love it. Cujo, I want to start out talking about the Blues because they are buzzing right now, and it fits with that being the first team that you started your career with. And, you know, we got a chance to look at your autobiography, The Untold Story of My Life on and off the ice, which is such a good read. And I feel like we could spend this entire podcast talking about that because it's such a good story. High recommend to anyone to check that out. But you know, right now, with the interest of time, we just want to talk about how, like we said, an undrafted free agent, you get your start after your freshman year at Wisconsin. This is the place that you learned, you know, how to be an NHLer and where you got your first shot. What was that experience like for you? And was there any point when you were in college thinking like, you know, who knows, maybe I'll never get the call, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're with the Blues. What was that journey like for you?
Right. So the year before I went to college, I was at Notre Dame and no scholarship. I was an overage Tier 2 junior player. So to get a scholarship was the only goal. And, you know, being in the NHL was such a distant target because I grew up playing single A hockey. So, you know, my expectations were very low, but finally got that scholarship, that elusive scholarship. And I was happy to be there for the next 4 years and get an education. And if I grew into a player, then that was great. But I was a free agent, never got drafted. So I was a free agent. So I had teams bidding on me. And fortunately for myself, the last 2 teams I played on, Notre Dame Hounds and Wisconsin, we had great teams. So for a goalie, it makes you look good. And I definitely appeared to be better than I was at that time. I can honestly say that. And, you know, going to Wisconsin was great bunch of teammates. We still have a group text, which is amazing.
That's
Sean Hill
Love that.
was a freshman with myself, you know, longtime NHLer and one of the best guys. So it was a great journey. And you know, stepping into the NHL was really a 2-year journey. And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an incredible run, and what an exciting team to kind of make your breakthrough there, right? Like that must have been a crazy taste of life when you're like, bang, I'm out here with Brett Hull scoring 1,000 goals.
Seriously.
And things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and from where I came from, I only played single A hockey, so I never played with an NHL prospect or a guy who was going to go to the NHL. And so when I got there, now you're with all these superstars. You know, Brett Hull. I remember Peter Zezel. You know, was playing in Philly when he was on the Blues. Brian Sutter was our coach, and these guys were all men. I was just a child, and I was definitely not as mature as your average rookie. That's for sure. I was below average. And but they welcomed me, and Brian Sutter was a great guy. Welcomed me with open arms, and it was a great team to break in with, and now seeing them have success and make that playoff run is great because I love the fans there. They treat their athletes like gods. Great people, Midwest people, and especially in St. Louis. So great place to start. And I just got inducted in the Hall of Fame recently, and they treated myself and my family when we went down there like gold. They couldn't have been better. So I got nothing but great things to say about the organization, and it's still great.
We hear that all the time about the Blues from pretty much everyone we talk to who has had an experience with the team. Do you feel like there was a difference with being a goalie when you're a young rookie like that and you've got all of these, future Hall of Famers you're playing with? Is it weird being a goalie, kind of hoping that someone like that takes you, like when you think about a Hull, to take you under your wing and kind of show you the ropes? Or is it just everyone treats everyone the same? It's just a great vibe, great team, great organization.
Well, just like any place in the NHL, if you look like you're going to contribute, they can see it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And, of course, everybody wants to win. So if you have some success early, you're going to endear yourself to your teammates a little quicker, which I seem to do. So that was good. They're going to welcome you because, they want to be able to cheat offensively, so you can be back there to stop them. I'm just kidding. It was great. But for sure. So it was a great group of guys. They welcomed me with open arms. I had some success early, and it looked like I was going to be there to stay for a while. So I remember those great teammates of mine, the Cavallinis, Jeff Brown, Holly, of course, just great teammates. And Brian Sutter, of course, was good for me also.
Yeah. Well, Cujo, you mentioned this January you were inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame, and I also wanted to point out you have a cool connection with Binner, who we know well, and you went to the same goalie school, had the same goalie coach. He was a young kid, of course, but you guys have that connection. And then to watch him get picked for the Canada Four Nations roster, kind of go on a heater there, win the gold medal, and then come back and turn this into a 12, 13 game heater for the Blues. Has it been really fun for you to watch both him and the team have the success they're having this year?
Oh, absolutely. I talked to him at the end of January when I was down there, and he said some great things to me about us, coming from the same area and knowing each other. And he's a super athlete, plays goal the right way. He's very athletic, great style. And I remember him at the same goalie school that I went to when I was 35, trying to hone in the new style. And it's great to see him have success. He's a great kid, very competitive. I even don't mind the emotion he shows out there. I love it. I think it's part of his character. It's a part of who he is. I remember being there, and I said, Binner, you're going to play for your country, and there's nothing like it. It's a 2-week tournament. You're going to love it. You play with other Canadians. The whole country is watching. Enjoy it. And he had great success. He embraced it. He played outstanding. He was probably the best player in the tournament. And then when you have those experiences like that, you come back to your own team, and you have that much more confidence and you're that much bigger. And that's exactly what he did. You always take those international experiences and bring it back when you have success, and you can be a leader for your team. And that's exactly what he's done. And we can't discount Jim Montgomery, who I played with in St. Louis in those early years. And I would follow Jim Montgomery in the junior ranks, and he won 2 national titles. And then he went to college to Denver, won a national title. I'm like, wow, this guy really has what it takes. Goes to the NHL, starts winning in Boston, and then he gets fired. And St. Louis made a great decision to get this guy. He just relates with the players, and he treated us like gold. Me and my son went into the locker room and had a great time. They treated him first class. So I'll text him every now and again and say, Jim, you got a gift. Keep this thing going. So between Jimmer and Binner and Jim Montgomery, I'm very proud of that organization and what they've accomplished recently.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. We're really tight with Monty, and everything you said is so true. He's the best. He's such a good fit for that team. And I also love what you said about Binner. We need more of it.
Agreed.
I love when he gets fiery and starts shit talking and gets the wheels pumping, because I'm like, this is entertainment. We need more of it. It's fantastic.
And it gets him on his A game. That's what he needs, and I love that.
Absolutely. And I also love what you just said, Cujo, talking about, playing at that high level like Four Nations like he did, and then bringing that back to the locker room in St. Louis. It's, you have an Olympic gold in 2002 in Salt Lake City on enemy turf. Unbelievable. That felt like one of the best rosters U.S. has ever put together until, frankly, this year at Four Nations. Right. So to play that intense game, to get that win, it's unbelievable. What was that experience like for you? Because I love what you just said. I'm curious if that was a similar situation for you when you played in that high level of a tournament, obviously won the ultimate prize. Were you able to then bring that back to your team, kind of translate it to the teammates in the club level?
Yes. So first taste of going to an area like an all-star game where all the players are great. You're Gretzky, Messier, Timo Solani, and you see all these great players, even your idols when you're in high school, obviously Gretz. You do that, and that's on a smaller scale, and you bring that back, and you have that swagger. And then it was the World Cup of Hockey, I think, was my first taste. It was like the Four Nations. It was before the Olympics, and probably in '96 I got to play, and me and Marty Brodeur were the goalies, so I got a first-hand look at all the great players, and that was my first taste, and being able to come back from that, and I played extremely well in that, and bring that back to my team. It catapulted me, no question. And all goalies, if you get an opportunity to play for your country, I don't care if it's a Spangler Cup or the Olympics, you have to do it. It's not only is it a great experience and a great camaraderie with the guys and forever memories, but you bring that back to your team, and you're a much better player for that experience. And Binner showed us all exactly how it's done.
Yeah, that's so true.
God,
Cujo,
awesome.
Question for you about the international play in that era. I feel like now the boys are all pretty good friends already. Like they've all played at dev camps and whatever. They all know each other really well. Was there any angle to playing in international teams then where you're kind of meeting some of these guys, getting to know these guys much better for the first time? Is that true, or were you guys already boys?
Oh, no, that's totally true. In my era, I didn't know any of these guys. I played against them, so I knew how they played. I didn't know anybody. Like I said, I wasn't like an Eric Lindros who grew up with a bunch of guys who are going to go into the NHL, right? You're playing at the highest level your whole life. I'm going in there, and these are my heroes.
Yeah.
I was in hockey pools. I'm in the hockey pools in high school with these guys, and now to sit beside Wayne Gretzky or watch him, how he handles pressure, I'm like, oh, I get it. Wow, this guy is Superman. And Gretz really was. He handled pressure like there's no tomorrow. So I took the little things that I took from each guy, all these Hall of Famers that I got to play with, and I'd take it back to my team and try and be like that. Because you have certain things about your game that you like, and there's other certain things that you can be a better leader. And certainly watching those guys under pressure is only going to help you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Of course. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. So, Cujo, on Sunday, with the eyes of the hockey world, we all saw Ovi break the record, 895. But as that was happening, Budweiser Canada did this really cool thing. And I know you've got it behind you. They're raising a can to the rare group of goalies, there's only 28 of you, who kept Ovi off the scoreboard forever. Okay, so they and you got the can. Can you bring it up? And show us what's on it. I think it's got your jersey number, shots faced, 0 goals, right? It's got everything on there. Yeah, look at that.
It says,
That's so awesome.
The greatest goal scorer of all time couldn't score on you. 2 shots, 0 goals. And it's Budweiser 0.
Amazing. So cool. So you're now one of the King of Zero, the iconic group of 28. And it was awesome because you guys got the convo going on Twitter and everything. And I saw Ovi come out of the woodwork. He hadn't tweeted in 3 years or something like that, but he jumped in. That was hilarious. That must have been really cool to see.
It absolutely was. My youngest son, Luke, texts me, goes, Dad, Ovi hasn't tweeted out in 3 years, and he tweets you. So I read that, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty special. I mean, can you imagine his phone blowing up these last few days, and for him to acknowledge, not scoring on me. I did a few, on X and on Instagram, and for him to acknowledge and say, the only reason I didn't score on you is because you retired.
Yeah. It's so funny.
It's a great line. I love it. And Ovi, I became a fan of his because of his celebrations and his passion for scoring goals.
Yeah.
And I always tell my kids, and I tell the young kids, I say, see, this is the way it's supposed to be. When you score goals, celebrate.
Yes,
it's a great feeling, and it's part of the game. So just like Binner, expressing himself, getting in fights, breaking sticks, Ovi's the same way. He's celebrating more than anybody else celebrated a goal. So he really won me over. And of course, winning a Stanley Cup and being so great. So Ovi has been tremendously great for the game, and that's an understatement.
Yeah, agree. It's electric. Sure. It's electric. I gotta know, Cujo, during this, him chasing down the record, were you aware that he never scored on you? Because I feel like you've been peppered with a billion shots, so many different players throughout your unbelievable career. Is that something that you know about, or was this news to you that he had never scored on you?
So I definitely remember the game that we played against him where I had to come in with 2 minutes left or 3 minutes left. So I do remember that game and being peppered, but I couldn't remember in my mind if there was another game that we had played against them. But that one stood out, and there wasn't another game. So you always remember the games you play against Lemieux, Gretzky, Sidney Crosby. These type of players, even one of the first games I played was against Brian Trottier, and I remember he hit me in the face like on a point blank. Honestly, and I always tell him, and Brian Trottier is one of the best humans, and I always tell him, I made a great save on you, point blank. You hit me in the face. So I couldn't remember, but I do remember that game fondly, and he actually had a shootout attempt, which probably doesn't count as a shot. Correct?
Wow, but that is a great little tidbit.
It definitely doesn't count, but you saved it.
Yes, for the win.
God, dude, that's even cooler. We got to get them engraved that on the can.
Yeah, we need to send that can back to Budweiser and have them etch that in as well, because that's a nice feather in the cap, dude. Not only did he not score, also saved a shootout attempt.
Right. Here's to Budweiser Canada. I need an update, an asterisk saying that I did stop and the penalty shot and won the game. So I'm going to send this. No,
because I bet very few of the 28 have that.
Yeah.
And Cujo, we had talked about it earlier, but when you joined the league, you saw some good goal scorers. Brett Hull, I wrote it down, had 72, 86, and 70 your first year on your team. So you played with a guy pumping in goals at historic rates. And I just wanted to get your opinion on eras change. Obviously, the coaching got better, tactics got better. The clutch and grab went away, though. We're getting 3-on-3. What is it like as someone who played with a Hull and then played against an Ovi to watch what he accomplished in a little bit of a different era?
Yeah, so there are gives and takes to that. Brett Hull was the greatest. I can always say Brett Hull was the greatest goal scorer that I ever played with or that I ever saw while I was playing. And obviously, Ovi, I haven't seen him much. I saw him the one game up close. But so you can say, the clutching and grabbing's gone, so maybe it's easier to score. But I'd always say, yes, that's gone. But you have to weigh the other part of the scale where the goalies are bigger and cover more net. And generally, they're better as a group than we were probably back then. They're just... They cover more net, and then you got the other one where you say, well, the stick technology. It's like if you introduced aluminum bats into the MLB.
So
right?
true.
You would never do that. So, I mean, there's give and take, but the equipment for the goalies is much better. It's much stiffer. It's much bigger. It's lighter by a ton. Those pads are a fraction of the weight. So there's give and take. So it almost could even out, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that call.
I mean, I said it the other day. We were talking about Gretz. Like, if you want to compare, I'm like, the guy was using a 25-pound stick. Like, it probably hindered him a little bit. Like, let's be honest here. Do you still play at all, Cujo? Are you getting on the ice every now and then?
Here's one more thing to think about, and I'll answer that question. I was with Craig McTavish, recently in Moose Jaw, and he brought up a great point, which is going to make you guys really think, is that he goes, I never really looked at Gretz as a goal scorer, and he would say the same. Yet he owned the record.
Yeah, it's true.
Ridiculous.
It's true. Like, I don't think Gretz thinks he's a goal scorer, but he's like, I just
setup man.
I just have
to
that
score
record.
it.
Yeah. Just another one of the records that he happens to have.
Dude, that's so ridiculous.
So funny.
Right.
Yeah. If for any reason anyone were to ever get the assist record, then he'd really be pissed.
He'd be pissed. Yeah.
Right. And the other comment I really like is that Gretzky's one goal away from being the all-time leading goal scorer in the NHL.
Yeah,
that is a great line. Yeah,
that is a really good one.
He'd come back.
He probably could do it.
So good. Cuj, before we I want to ask you some Leaf stuff real quick, but any Hully stories you're allowed to share?
Oh my goodness. Well, Hully, did he ever score an empty net goal? I don't think so.
I actually want to look that up.
He
so
didn't
badly.
want to, which is crazy. So he scored the 72 goals, and Peter Zezel was his centerman.
Yeah.
So, Peter's a great NHL player, but he's not known as a great passer or, great playmaker. So how about that? And then when Brett was when he scored 72, he was making $1.35 on the last year of his contract. And I think they were offering him 500, 600, 650, and 700,000. He goes, no, I'm going to play it out. And he scored 72. I think he got $7 million for 3 years or something like that.
Not bad.
Yeah, dude.
Not bad.
That's so great.
That's a pretty good
my
upgrade back then, for sure.
Yeah, that's very nice.
That is unbelievable.
But Holy, he's a great man, extremely smart. There were a lot of great stories about him. He would carve guys, and he carved me one night, and it's very funny. It wasn't so funny then, but it's funny now. And I remember Steve Larmer, great goal scorer. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. He was one of those veteran guys that was so deceptive. I couldn't tell where he was going to shoot or where he was going. And I think he got a hat trick, and he shot every half slapper, because he had that half slapper with that heel curve, over my shoulder, and it got up so quick. It was a weird shot, but it was hard. Anyway, we come in after the second period, and Brett in front of the whole team, and I'm just a rookie, shy kid, never had criticism before, and he says, Cujo, is your effing glove Velcro to your pants? And the room literally laughed and went into hysterics. And of course I wasn't laughing, but I was like, oh, I guess that didn't look so good.
Yeah.
And the
Looking
boys
back.
were rolling. We maybe went on to win it, but Brett was very funny and very clever. And
That's awesome.
you
man.
could
That's
be
so
the brunt of a lot of jokes. And he used to rip Rod Brindamore for being so jacked too.
Yeah, he still is. He
Yeah,
still is.
seriously. I bet he still gives it to him for that.
Oh yeah. So Brett, nobody was off limits, and he was great at carving guys. Very funny.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
That's the best. It's cool to hear you talk so highly about the Blues, because I believe, and tell us if it's changed, but you've said many times that you consider yourself a Leaf, because that really was, the height of your playing days. You were buzzing so much with the Leafs, and you still now work with them as an ambassador and a goalie coach whenever they need it. And I want to talk, since we're talking about goal scorers, about Austin Mathews. And it's crazy to see, how good the league has become, how much goal scoring has ramped up. We're seeing guys, what was it? We had something like, 19 guys with over 40 goals last year.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that. And when you look at it through their first eight seasons, Mathews is only 20 or so goals away from where Ovi was too. When you look at a player like that, because you've been around the team a lot, you've been around him a lot, do you see his ability and think maybe in 10 years or so here we might be looking at another record chase?
Yeah, no question. If he stays healthy, that's the key component, because Ovi stayed incredibly healthy, which is another skill in its own, and it's a lot of luck, but it's a lot of skill also. But I remember Shane Doan telling me a story when Austin used to come out and skate with them before training camp. Of course, he's a resident of Arizona, so he'd come out and skate with the Coyotes guys. So the story goes, it was the first practice, and the 16-year-old kid was out skating with them, and everybody knew, this kid's really good. And at one point in the scrimmage, it was 4-0, and Austin Mathews had all 4 goals at 16. And Donor turned to the group and he said, guys, is anybody else going to score besides this 16-year-old kid? So they could see it early, and that release is something special. This is something that I had to study, and I'm an expert on, I guess, back in the day, because, you have to be good at where they shoot. But what impressed me about Austin, he can pick spots, and if you give him one chance, it's in the net, and he can shoot high, shoot off the post. But I love his shots along the ice. He fools so many goalies when he's in close, and he fires that thing so hard along the ice, and he gets them before they can get down. And I just love that goal, because it keeps goalies guessing, They don't want to go down too early because he's going to snipe over there. But I love his goals along the ice. I think it's genius and it's special. So he can get you. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he sure is. And that shot's deceptive,
Oh,
too.
my God,
we call it the floor cheese when he keeps it on the ice like that. It is electric. I love that.
It's amazing. And Cujo, we were saying the other day, the Leafs look to me like better than they've been in 10 years. They're currently in first place in the Atlantic. How do you feel about, is there something different about them this year? Is that the vibe? What are you thinking?
No, man, they're both goaltenders I love both goaltenders. I think they can both steal games in the playoffs, and that's what you're looking for your goalie to do in the playoffs. The teams are so even, and there's such a fine line for winning and losing. So if your goalie can literally steal two games out of the 7-game series, there's a good chance you're going to win with all those goal scorers. So the Leafs have game breakers. So you want to play great defense, and they've upgraded their defense, their size, because we all know in playoffs the referees put the whistle away. So guys are going to the net. They're going to take liberties. They're going to do things. So if you have a big defenseman or big defense that can take liberties on their forwards, heck yeah, because the rules are, we all know the rules are different in the playoffs, and you got to be big, tough, and strong. And I think they've addressed that this year, getting the defensemen that they have, and that bodes well. So you have two goalies who are bona fide number one goalies, and the records show that. And then you have big, strong defense that are going to keep. I mean, I love defense that keep them to the outside, because if you take away time and space and closeness of proximity for goal scorers, it makes my job a lot easier. So it is. I think they're a little under the radar. Like my sons, I always quiz them. They're hockey savants, and they said, "Dad, Austin's a little under the radar. Mitch Marner's a little under the radar this year." All these guys are a little under the radar, their scorers, so I like that going into the playoffs.
I want that to be their playoff slogan. Every
under
team
the radar.
Thing, under the radar.
We've been saying it all year. It's. I mean, now they're in first right now, but it's like for some reason they've stayed out of the headlines, out of the news, and that's right where they want to be.
Under the radar.
Just going to sneak under the rug. But here's the question for you, Cujo. Let's say we get a scenario: Stanley Cup final, Toronto Maple Leafs, St. Louis Blues. Who are you pulling for?
That's everything. I played almost the same amount of games for both franchises, and I was a different person in both of them. I think I was a better goalie later in my career, late 20s, early 30s. But I'm under contract with the Maple Leafs, and some nights I'm the e-bug. I'll walk in and I'll see Reed Mitchell, who was there when I was there, and I always go, "Hey, put your e-bug away. I'm in the house. I'm ready." Yeah. So that is my.
You got to be careful though. You got to be careful, Cujo. What if you put e-bug against the Caps? Ovi comes in, scores on you. Everything's ruined.
That would be a disaster. We can't have that happen.
Everything is over. Yeah, my Budweiser Canada deal
Fame
is
and
done.
fortune.
So
someone's gonna come up with a briefcase, take that can away.
So hey, on the flip side of that, how I think is that I stop him again and think of the next contract that I'd be able to have.
Oh my God,
such a good point.
Cujo comes in as an e-bug, stones Ovi. You're gonna get a deal for sure. No doubt about it.
It'd be great. It'd be amazing. And a better can. You have bigger can.
Bigger can.
We come out with the tall boys, right?
Yeah, give us a tall boy. If that happens, that's what we need. We need a tall boy for the shootout save. We're gonna get on the horn with Budweiser and make that happen.
You guys are good. I like it. Very creative.
All right, Cujo, we want to close you out with a game we play with everyone, and it's perfect given the background. By the way, that display of the masks behind
the most iconic mask ever.
It's just incredible. So we play a game.
Good ones there, huh?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, good God, look at those.
Yeah, I think I have 17 game-used masks, so.
Special. That's special.
They're great.
Okay, so we play a game with all of our guests called Pass, Shoot, Score. Basically a ranking system. We're going to give you 3 things that we know you like, that you care about, and you're going to rank them: pass, shoot, score. Pass is great, like snapping the puck around. Shoot is a little bit better. Score is the ultimate best. So it's basically 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
So your pass, shoot, score is going to be goalie masks that inspired you. So your pass, shoot, score is Tony Esposito, Ken
I'm going to say
Dryden.
shoot.
Well, hold on. You get all 3. You get all 3.
Oh.
So you got Tony Esposito, Ken Dryden, and Mike Palmatier.
Wow. So, Ken Dryden, pass. Montreal Canadiens, and I love
it.
Ken
Is
Dryden.
basic though. I hear you.
It's
It
basic.
is basic.
It's
yeah.
basic. It's basic. We love Ken, but it's basic.
Yeah. And then Mike Palmateer is shoot, because I love Mike Palmateer and I love the way he played. I played similarly, I guess. But Tony Esposito was the mask that I drew as a kid. I literally would draw Tony Esposito. And I drew one for Panger, and Panger still has that. I drew it on the plane one time for Panger, and he still has that. So that's my pass shoot score.
That's your score. Wow,
fantastic.
incredible that Panger has that drawing. That's so
that
awesome.
is so cool. That better be framed somewhere.
And Cujo, I heard you say that it's so cool that those guys having the same mask is kind of what inspired you to be like, I want to do the incredible stuff you have behind you. Is that right?
Yes. So those guys always had the same mask, and you knew who they were by their mask. So if by God's grace you become a great NHL goalie, you want one mask that people recognize you by. I think there was a beer commercial where Tony Esposito walks into a bar and with a bunch of hockey players, and they're like, who's that guy? And he pulled out his mask and he put it on. They go, Tony Esposito.
Yeah. That's
Greatest
awesome.
commercial ever. So that inspired me to keep the same concept every time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you remember the moment that you got to design your first NHL mask?
Yeah, when you were
how cool must that have been?
When you were
for
faxing it back and forth.
Yeah.
Right, when I was faxing it back and forth. And I really said to the artist, I said, you're the artist. You start. You send it to me. I want the Cujo theme. That's my nickname. We're going to run with this. And what he had sent back was incredible. I was like, wow, I could have never come up with this. So it was tremendously inspiring. And you let them go first, and then you can tweak it however you like. So incredible. I can't say that I created it. So
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Cujo, the last thing we do with everybody is we play a game called Career Hattie. So for players, we ask for their career hat trick, their 3 favorite goals of their career. Any stop, anywhere they played. But for goalies, we give it your career save Hattie. So your 3 favorite saves of your career, any level, any spot. Do you know what? Do you think you have them?
Yeah, it's the 2 shots against Ovi and then the shootout, against Ovi.
Oh my gosh! All right, here we go. So, how about the one I had at Notre Dame? Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I love that.
So to win the West, which was toughest thing to do, we're playing against we already beat Manitoba, and we're the winner of Saskatchewan. This is Rod Brindamore's team, who got us all scholarships because he was so great, and he was going in the first round of the NHL. So thank you, Rod Brindamore.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have a career because he got me that career just by being there and being great. But we had a penalty shot against us against the Calgary Canucks in Game 7 with 2 seconds left.
Oh my God!
And if I let it in, we go to overtime, and they're undefeated, I think, for the season. So I stopped it with 2 seconds left, and we ended up winning the West, going on to win the Centennial Cup. So that's one. That's my
for
third,
sure.
I guess. Second one would probably be in Edmonton, Game 7 against Joe Nieuwendyk.
Yes.
Wow.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Game 7, overtime, winner goes on, and made that save, and immediately Todd Marchand went down and scored. So it magnified that save. So that's number 2. And of course, we got to go with, me owning Ovi. It's the penalty shot, the shootout. Third, he's the third guy to go, and I stopped it for the win.
Game on the line.
That's number 1.
Got him.
That is such a clean career, Hattie. God, I love it.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Well, Cujo, you are the best for hopping on with us, giving some of your time and some of these stories. It's so much fun. It's so awesome to chat with you. Before we let you go, and we give a huge shout out and thank you to Budweiser Canada, is there anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about or say hi to?
No, I just it's a great program that Budweiser Canada did, and then congratulations to Ovi. In all seriousness, he did it. He did it when people didn't think that he could. He's got 42 goals this year.
Yeah,
who could have guessed that? I mean, you wouldn't
with a broken leg.
He could do that. So here's to Ovi, even though it's my can, and what a great thing for the NHL. Amazing. And guys, thanks for having me on. We could have talked for a couple hours here.
Oh, we'll have to have you back. We'll have to have you back.
I was going to say, we're going to probably have to have you back because we can tell that this chat could go on for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions, guys.
Appreciate
course,
it, brother.
man.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.